it's just the timing of like what they do subliminally. They set up these mindsets that describe who you are, like, so they put characters in these movies. So all the movies are designed to make you think and feel a certain way, just like all the cartoons are designed to make you think and feel a certain way, and all the educational programs, so-called educational programs for the children, are designed to make them think and feel a certain way. Every which way, from the control grid as a whole, to the white supremacy program, to the conformity, to prep work conformity, before you get into the school system, before you get into the workplace environment, before you get into all of that stuff, so you can just keep repeating the patterns and pass that down to your next generation and keep that distraction grid of slave mind control going. And these movies out here, so social media is now the middleman, like the delivery guy for the program itself, as people are thinking and feeling on so many different levels and have so many different information sources that they have to play every side, play every angle. This is why you have the Young Turks out there, you have Alex Jones out there, and the Young Turks are supposed to be talking about, let's get our country back from the corporations, and you got the Alex Joneses out there talking about, let's get our country back from the globalists, and then you got the alternative news people talking about global warming and changing the world and peace and all this other stuff. And you have the mainstream distraction, which is trying to pump up the fear program, which is the Trump program and that whole thing. All of this is designed to keep you in a box. Like at the bottom of this email stuff. See, all this stuff happens at the same time. You have these emails that come out. Coincidentally, they come out right in between the Republican National Convention and the Democratic National Convention. And right in the middle of Comic-Con is also in between that, another deep distraction. But you have these emails that come out that create instability. And when they create instability, they're creating it so you can get emotionally involved and start to vest your energy in whatever the whatever stabilizers they put out there in front of you. So instability itself is out there to make you emotionally vested into the system or whatever the storyline is, just like fear is the same thing that gets you vested into it. Just like hope and change get you vested into the storyline. It's all about you believing what your reality is about. And I was sitting out yesterday eating, listening to people talk about Trump and how weird that is. That whole, well, are you going to vote for, if you're not voting for Trump, so are you going to vote for Hillary? And having this whole thing, and then in between that, they're having to talk about like women UFC fighting and everything, basically everything in the world of interaction within our peer groups is given to us. It's fabricated. We have to repeat what is just spat out by these artificial grids, because the essence of who we are, our character, the content of our character, the depths of our personalities are only required to go as far as what is normal. So this is the normalized grid in relation to the previous videos I was talking about, the natural reality. So when you are separated from your reality so much with stuff like the globe model and the evolution program, the evolution theory and the Big Bang theory, you're basically spiritually separated from your actual beingness, your actual genetic code. You are now existing in the ethers as a synthetic genetic code, to where when you wake up in the morning, the movie reel that you run from whenever you wake up in the morning to whenever you go to sleep, you are creating a movie, a consciousness movie that is based upon Warner Brothers and Touchstone Pictures and cartoons and Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and leaked emails and insecurities and fear and Obama change hope and Alex Jones getting all mad and getting all pumped up about the revolution and all this this lunchable revolution. And then you have this school like this you gotta like Alex Jones is like a lunchable revolution. Then you got TYT, we're talking about the revolution will continue, after supporting Bernie, and then Bernie just throwing everybody under the bus after their like paper bag revolution. They're just like, oh yeah, we're gonna start making, you know, our own lunch, you know, we're gonna do this ourselves. Like, what are you talking about, man? That stuff still exists in a box. So like a perfect example of that is these leaked emails. Coincidentally, you know, right now, knowing that all these like Julian Assange and Snowden and all that stuff, they are put in front of your face for a reason. They want you to think on a certain level so they can play out another level of storylines. So they ain't gonna talk about the white supremacy program. They ain't gonna talk about flat earth stuff, and if they do, it's for the system itself. They're not going to talk about consciousness. They're not going to talk about the spirit. These are the ceilings. These are the walls of the box that get created, and we get these boxes out there like Legos. They get put in front of us so we can stack up a wall of our own consciousness and constantly have so many boxes. So it's like waking up in a ball pit, and your whole reality. Like, so every day that you wake up in the morning, you're waking up in a 10-story ball pit, like but they're boxes, box pit, tiny little balls or tiny little boxes, and you're at the bottom of that when you wake up in the morning, and you have to piece together your little surrounding world around you so you can both have a life, have something to experience with your day-to-days. This is what the social media is. This is what your jobs are. This is what your family is. The American dream box world. Whatever it is, shrunk down to however you can just make it, and, you know, make this life bearable within all this death and destruction and military industrial complex and prison industrial complex and all of these things that are out there that people are trying to avoid because they want to have a life. Like, it's too overwhelming to be surrounding yourself with all of that attention because you'll lose yourself. But actually, in a sense, you're already lost because you're still in a 10-story ball pit. And each day we wake up, we're trying to climb out of that ball pit. And we're just like, climbing and climbing. Each time we climb up one level, the bottom drops out because the storyline gets flipped, whether it's a movie real storyline or the media storyline or the political storyline or the educational storyline. Whatever it is, it's like a hamster wheel. You're thinking you're running somewhere, but you're not. And we are being fed genetically modified foods to keep us alive in order to power a system that tells us we're going somewhere, which is really not it. And the way we believe it is we get emotionally anchored into these storylines by believing that people are for us. We have these fabricated superheroes that are out there, and the movie superheroes are the ones who set that up for us. And the way they have these movies that are put in your face with trailers that are put out there for a year, like Justice League is going to come out sometime, I think it said like November 2017. So you have this gap, this window of lifespan to where you are hoping, you're waiting for this next, whatever, like things are going to be okay between now and then because we got to watch, the Justice League and Doctor Strange and Star Trek Discovery. And that's what I wanted to talk about as far as in reference to the science community. The science community does the same thing when it's the science community. The left hand of the science community is Hollywood. The right hand of the science community, scientism in your magic reality, in your ball pit, is the university system. They work hand in hand. And then you have Colbert interviewing these actors on his late night show, which you see right before you go to sleep. So your dreams are being manipulated to think your flicker rates before you go to sleep at night are flicker rated to steal your dreams and give you artificial dreams. The most obvious shitty part of that is what kind of dreams, what kind of messages, what kind of connections would you have with nature spirits, with animal spirits, with your spirit if you were surrounded by nature before you went to sleep? Like if you were surrounded by harmonics of nature, harmonics of yourself, art, like actual spirit, and then go to sleep and then see that space, live in that space for a year and see what that would do to your dreams. See what kind of messages you would get. Now, realize what most people, the norm is in this normality environment. People are going to sleep with late night talk shows and on a regular basis. It's like the norm for people since late night shows started. It's actually called late night. And they are being programmed by whatever these talk show hosts are telling you is your reality. So you're laughing at politics, which is just like this desensitization program to the military industrial complex that's actually killing people on the other side of the world, and simultaneously installing the scientific university program, the grid, the actual structure, the foundation of that 10-story ball pit is being desensitized into your reality by these likable characters we call late night talk show hosts, who have now had a shift change where they have all these younger ones like Jimmy Fallon, Seth Meyers, Trevor Noah, Colbert, Samantha Bee. All these people are out there to make you think that a certain layer of this normalized reality is it. It's just what you need to be focusing on. This is what it's all about. It's like binoculars. So like you live in a binocular reality called, this 10-story ball pit. And one of the main actors in the infrastructure of that ball pit are movies and television shows. And one of the prime examples of this that links it back into this reality, because Colbert in his last interview with Guardians of the Galaxy, was there Zoe Saldana? I think that's her last name. She was in the Guardians of the Galaxy, and she plays a character, the Avatar and Star Trek actress. She was interviewed on there, and I think it was when he was speaking to him or Spock, one of the two. Colbert says, this is the future. When we're watching Star Trek, that's what would happen when the humanity would have a perfect future. And that's what these movies are doing. That's what the sci-fi does. This is why Star Trek was installed back in the day, to kind of give the distraction grid for the NASA program, for the globe model. That keeps you distracted and focused on, this is what we're doing since we went to the moon. Now that we can see Star Trek, now that we can see Star Wars, we're going to be doing that in the future. Same way Back to the Future did that to people when they made a time machine with Marty McFly / Teen Wolf / what was that show he was on? Growing Pains or whatever TV show he was on. And Christopher Lloyd in all his movies, Buckaroo Banzai, all that shit that he's been in. They put these characters, these magicians out there to make you believe numerically, like in your genetic code, they're being coded, these actors' names, everything. The movies, the timings of the movies, everything is being coded for you to believe at the maximum potential for you to believe a subconscious plot. So just as they in Back to the Future, they said, we're going to have flying cars and hoverboards in 2015, they created a window, they created a gap for them to be able to do whatever they want in between now and then, which was 85 and 2015, to create an atmosphere of profit for themselves while we are stuck in this bubble of hope and thinking things are going to change because we have these trustworthy individuals who are out there supposedly representing the people, these politicians in the government as a whole, backed by the media, backed by Hollywood with Independence Day movies and all this stuff. Then you have politicians and even the president speaking on referencing it. All references itself. It's all a big giant ball pit. It's all to keep you stuck in a reality that will never allow you to get a foothold on your spirit, get a foothold on your true intellect, get a foothold on your true culture. It's all there to keep you normalized in this bogus reality that doesn't go anywhere. It will never go anywhere. They just want to tell you the storyline to keep you in a low vibration that will maintain control, a system of control. So the other thing in Star Trek is, and I don't think it's a spoiler alert, it's just a quick reference. They referenced an older ship in Star Trek. So Star Trek itself is supposed to exist in the future. But they find a ship, they reference a ship that is supposedly the first ship that is like the first spaceship, I guess, from humanity, or from the Federation. Yeah, the Star Trek Federation. The first ship that left, or that was commissioned to do whatever it is that Star Trek does. And they reference the year as 2160. So they said, oh, this is, so that subconsciously and consciously programs you to think, oh, by 2160 we're gonna have Star Trek ships. And it's believable in a sense, especially the kids. Like, this is for the kids, just like NASA is focused on the kids. They play with your child mind. And also, we have these man children and these adolescent adults. That's the normal program. This is what all this Pokemon Go shit is, and this whole distracted reality, everything. It's all an adolescent program, the high school program. The political scene itself is adolescent. The way they bicker back and forth, they never talk about anything. Their characters are not at all dignified, like, in a sense. They have no sort of essence there. There's no wisdom within their characters at all, and they're supposed to be your leaders of some sort. And even the celebrities, all that, it's the same thing. This is why they don't do a lot of interviews. The athletes don't do a lot of interviews, because there's no depth. There's no depth there. They only have to give you like a little bit with these TV shows and here and there, because if you started to understand these people, you wouldn't be watching them anymore. You wouldn't give a shit about them, because they're just like you, which is, first of all, so that's another program of separation that has to be out there in order to make you vest your deep etheric energies into the system as a whole. And then when they do pull their strings with this whole, like, whatever, however they do it politically in the university system with all this scientism backing it up and all that stuff, whenever they do pull those strings, you actually believe it, because you don't see them as the person. You see them as the characters that they have played. So you have that Divergent actress on the Young Turks, and that backs up this whole revolution shit. She's going across the country talking about, we're going to talk about taking this country, and this country needs to change and all this shit. You don't see her little ass out there as the person she is when she grew up to now. You see her Divergent character ass out there talking about this and this and this, vesting her energy into the Young Turks idea of what a revolution is and what that whole change program is about. This is straight up bullshit. They played just same way they had Rosario Dawson and Susan Sarandon and whoever the hell else they had out there for Bernie Sanders. You're looking at their characters. You're looking at they get these people out there to make you believe in a certain thing so that they can push their storyline, their agenda out even further. Just like Back to the Future did with them shoes, them auto lace shoes and that automatic drying jacket and hoverboard and flying cars. Star Trek does the same thing with flying spaceships to back up the university system and the scientism magic spell on the consciousness of humanity. And in between that is, so these are clocks. So you have clocks that move at certain time frames. And you have the clock of the Hollywood clock that keeps you vesting in the political scene and seeing how the political scene matches up with the university system. Then you have the clock within the Hollywood scene, which tells you through the sci-fi community and all this other stuff, like what time this stuff is going to click over and what time you should be thinking about it and expecting and hoping all this stuff to change. And it's all in the future, and they're creating your future, so they don't have to do time travel. This is like a low budget version of time travel. It's like you creating your own past, present, and future based upon what you're programmed with every day, every moment of your waking state reality. And these late night talk show hosts are there to play your character. You are actually playing them, or they are playing you, and vice versa in the whole like thought process of, so whoever you feel closely with or whoever you vibe with or all of them, you get your little lunchable packet of understanding of what's going on in the system. The whole Magick show is the system itself. It's the ball pit. All of this shit on this trending page is the ball pit itself. So there's no mistake, Comic-Con and this whole thing with all the releasing of these trailers and that whole distraction shit was happening at the same time as the transition from the Republican National Convention over to the Democratic National Convention, during all these email stuff that's going on to bring that whole thing down, to keep people vesting their energy into this distraction grid as a whole. Meanwhile, they keep playing the script that they want to play, and you just believe it. And you see it on however level, like you pride yourself in how much you're not a part of that shit because you get your information. You're not a Democrat or Republican. You just watch the show, or I'm different, or well, I'm this and I'm that. They keep that. That's another role play. This is all a role play story. And by not engaging our intellect, our actual spirit, our consciousness, and understanding the bigger pictures, we are actually engaging within the ball pit itself. If we don't understand the actual system itself, then that non-engagement is subconsciously engaging in that reality, which is that's the overall program that's being played, because there's still a subtle layer of a subtle frequency of fear that is within that system, because we have a lack of understandings of our true consciousness, our true spaces beyond the physical reality. And that's what this is all about. It's about sucking you into a facade, an artificial grid, an artificial understanding of your physical reality, which uproots you from your dream space, which uproots you from connection to your dream space, which uproots you, that next uproots you from your connection to your higher self, your ancestors, your out of this physical reality experience, which then uproots you from understanding spirit, which then uproots you from every other timeline and genetic code that you have based upon why you're here right now, why you're doing what you're doing right now. And that's the design. You get caught up in this distraction. So they pull out all the stops. They pull out everything in order to, at certain time frames, in order to lock you in to a version of your reality that is not your own, never was your own, and is never meant to be your own, because you are supposed to follow a script that is set up by a director that is, and producers of the destructive intelligence reality. And that is the ultimate separation from the creative intelligence, the spirit. That's where the colonial grid is anchored with the whole destroying of the indigenous people and the installing of the synthetic artificial grid reality with technology and so forth. And they convinced you so much that you think this is your future. You've thought into the future, this technological future where we have all these aliens and all this other shit. These are not angelic type frequencies. These are not most high anchored frequencies. These are separation grid frequencies. Your future timelines are based upon this whole Star Trek shit, this whole new age, alien agenda, transhumanism, future timeline bullshit. It is not anchored in a connection to the Most High. It is anchored in the separation grid. So what kind of futures do you think you would manifest if you are the past of your future, and if you are anchoring in a space of rooting your reality to bear fruit in the future timelines? What kind of fruit will you bear from a destructive intelligence reality, which is what's going on, which is the normal mode right now? What kind of fruit would that bear? And then that's what's happening when you see all these channelers come back with, this is this and this is happening. Yeah, they're giving you 99% of a reality, an understanding of reality, but that last 1% is kept away from you in order to dangle like a carrot in front of you. We can't talk about that. We can't do this. This is the same thing the governments do with hiding information from you, with hiding so-called technology, with hiding whatever it is. They got to give you something to want to need them to exist. So the channelers, the government does the same thing channeled energies do for maintaining a following, maintaining ultimately their existence. How I see channeling in the whole thing is that they're trying to maintain their existence. So they will give you 99% of love and light, but that last 1% is based upon what our reality is right now, which is of a destructive intelligence, which will actually shift their entire reality if we were to shift our consciousness and our vested energies from this moment right now. This is how I'm seeing like timelines as a whole and relating to this whole thing. And since the low budget version of that is Hollywood, how they tell you in 2160 we're gonna have Star Trek type ships. So that's 150 years away from here. So, mostly everybody's going to be gone. Everybody's going to be gone. It'll be a new generation or multiple generations. But that seed is planted to where you trust, that seed of hope, that seed of change, that seed of all that dramatic shit movie, why all these sci-fi movies are so dramatic and they have all these love stories in between. They have all of these action, you believe in these characters, you affiliate with these characters. All that shit is out there to make you vest your energies, your genetic codes in that reality. Or not at all interpret it, keep away from it, or vest our energies into CERN, because they are the same scientists that are connected with the university system, that's connected with what will get us to the Star Trek future timelines in 2160. Like, everything is connected. So if you believe in Star Trek, if you believe in the Big Bang Theory and the evolution theory and all this dinosaur shit, the same thing why they have Jurassic Park and Jurassic World out there. They gotta pound this evolution program into your conscious and your subconscious so your kids will believe this shit. So they're playing with generations of genetic codings. And every day we get flicker rated with these trending programs on Yahoo's homepage. That's what a Yahoo is. It's just a Yahoo, floating Yahoo. Microsoft homepage, Fox News, the mainstream, whatever it is that you think is your main source of information, Young Turks, Alex Jones, all that shit, still, that's a ball pit. You are in a carnival, in a ball pit. And the only way you can get out of there is by going inwards and seeing how deep how connected this whole shit is to keep you locked into this separation grid as a whole. And the surface layer shit that gets played for us to invest our energies in are stuff like the race relation shit. Like I was walking down like Black and White. That's what this whole supremacy program is about. Separation grid, period. That's what it is. And they will separate you with the most ridiculous things. And ultimately you'll miss the point of what it means to connect to your actual culture, your actual genes, your actual peoples, your actual storylines, your actual harmonies and dances. That's what this separation grid is based upon. And people play it out all the time. They don't even realize it. Like I was walking down the street the other day and a guy says, hey, as I pass him, I get like half a block down the road and they're just like staring at me, a guy and a lady, and he yells. I know he's yelling at me. I didn't want to turn around. But he was adamant about it. He said, hey, man, hey. He said, hey, you look like an Arabin. I said, what the hell? I knew he was trying to say like Arabic or something. He said, yeah. And then I paused and looked at him, and his girlfriend or whoever was kind of like embarrassed. And he said, yeah, man, you look like an Arabin. And I was thinking like, what the hell am I going to say to this? But I was on my way to get some food, so I was just like, you know what, whatever, man. He said, oh, so basically he was like, yeah, you with your hair. He's trying to like soften it up, like with your hair, man, you like an Arabin. I didn't want to take it any further than that, but I said, thank you, man, thank you. And he said, oh yeah, you're welcome. It was ridiculous. Like this is a human interaction. that was my human interaction that I had, day before yesterday. God. So that's where we are. Like that's where a lot of people are. But that's what this whole trending human consciousness grid, this normalization consciousness grid is based upon. This shallow version of our reality. And we don't even know how to speak to each other. We don't know how to engage with each other. We don't know what it is. And we interpret things as threatening, which aren't threatening at all. Like I still feel people looking at me when I'm walking around. Like it's actually worse now. So-called white people don't have to worry about this, but when you are a melanated individual and you walk into like a store or something, that shit still goes on. Like the whole hurry up and buy stuff, but on a massive scale. Like everywhere you go, all the time, everywhere, it always happens, and it gets downplayed on a regular basis. That is an actual frequency that gets pumped out through generations that affects your genetic code. We don't see this shit because we just think, oh, he's just being like he's just taking it too far, you're just being emotional. No, everything exists. The body consciousness is just a reflection of the the psychological consciousness, and a reflection of the spirit consciousness all the way through. There are levels that exist first. It exists in the spirit first, then to the mind, then to the body. For it to have manifested all the way down into the body consciousness, it has to have at least existed in the collective consciousness of the spirit on a regular basis, everyday reality for generations. So we are cleaning up generations of bullshit every time we don't react and act a certain way that our previous generations acted and thought. And this is what this trending and mainstream thing is meant to do, is to keep you in like a ball pit on a freeway, and the freeway is traffic jam. They keep a traffic jam so that the control grid actually just has these checkpoints everywhere to maintain traffic. They don't give a shit about your safety. They're telling you it's for your safety. They're telling you it's for your protection, only to maintain the fact that they want to be in control. That's why those security checkpoints are on the freeway, and you're sitting in your own little ball pit trying to go through consciousness however you think your reality is supposed to be, based upon, you know, the freeway, and then the checkpoints, and the people who are telling your story, and why there's traffic in the first place, and what all these ball pits are. And you're constantly distracted on a regular basis. And the radio back in the 40s or whatever, the radio was this is the version of the radio. People were listening to, you know, Eisenhower or whatever, you know. They're just like, this is our reality. Let's keep it down. Your father's listening to the radios. Like, we're trying to learn what the whole world is about because the radio's on. And like, that's one linear version of reality, but people are growing. The consciousness is expanding. So they had to install the internet. They had to install YouTube. They had to install Yahoo and all these other versions of linear streams of consciousness to keep you vesting in the program as a whole. So you think you're having a freedom of speech and understanding when you're part of the Young Turks. Like, you think you're informed of the stuff beyond the mainstream media. Ha 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 ha. We know what's going on. All that fucking bullshit. And then you have the people who are Alex Jones, who are just like, we're part of the real revolution. We're going to take our country back. That's just the extreme. And they really showed their asses recently now backing Trump in this whole thing. The Alex Jones people is talking about, you see where they're coming from when they talk about revolution and take our country back. You can see the level of consciousness they're coming from. And they're not the only ones. They're just the ones that have been paid to put out there in front of your face to make you think the same way during certain times. So these are just other freeways that we get off on, thinking that this is the way it all is. This leaked email stuff that's going on. You have this Bernie Sanders representative out there, this video, ABC News video, talking about this is a clear example of the DNC taking sides. Somebody has to be held accountable. So now they supposedly have proof because WikiLeaks leaked these emails of, you know, the system being against actual change with Bernie Sanders and all this shit. It's all to create instability so they can create that stabilizing factor, whatever it is, the savior mentality, the savior stabilizer. That's what Obama was in the past, and they might try to do that now too, or just keep pushing the instability program with Trump. However they play it, it's going to be within a box. So like when he says somebody has to be held accountable, they're talking about inside a box. It all relates to themselves. It all relates to the program as a whole. There's no separation between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton and Alex Jones and Donald Trump and the Young Turks. None at all, unless you make that separation. And those shows are out there for you to make that separation in order to believe that that is an actual reality. It's not. It's an artificial reality. If you expand your consciousness to go beyond the ball pit, you will see that it's all the same damn story. And these whole outbursts, you know, Alex Jones interrupts TYT, RNC coverage, all that shit, this is all a show. It's all a television show. And you buy into it however you want to. Whether you watch Trevor Noah and The Daily Show, whether you watch Colbert or Jimmy Fallon or Samantha Bee or Jon Stewart or Bill Maher, whatever it is, you're either going to be somewhat engaged, not at all engaged, distracted by Pokemon Go and the Comic-Con and Star Trek and all that shit. Whatever it is that you do to maintain your stability, you're going to do that. And they've put all these toys out there in the ball pit for you to be distracted by every day. Every day you wake up, go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep, wake up, go to sleep. Your dreams are stolen and your waking state dreams are stolen. So who are you really? Who are we if everything we are about has been handed to us by an artificial grid, by an artificial intelligence, down to the very natures of our connections to spirit as a whole, with the whole artificial religious streams of consciousness that are meant to control you. This artificial timeline has run its course. It's done. It's over with. And we, as individuals and a collective, have to make a choice between which reality we are choosing to experience. Do we want to keep distracting ourselves within a destructive intelligence, or do we want to reconnect with Source, the Most High Spirit, the creative intelligence, and have a true understanding of our physical reality, why we're here, what we're doing, that is outside of this totally manipulated, bogus program of that they're calling human nature and human science and all this other stuff? It's garbage.